Hello, fellow Minecrafters. Gearsaw Studios here. Today, I'm going to show you how to build a futuristic house because, everyone wants one of those because the future is getting closer and it could be now. However, before I begin, remember, please like and subscribe. It really helps me out. So, with that, onto the tutorial. So, for this build palette, we're going to be using gray concrete, sea lanterns, cyan terracotta, white concrete, and birch planks, along with just a couple accents for warped stems, so that way we can have some sort of electricity, and for the windows, we're going to be using light blue stained glass. Preferably, build this place somewhere near the coast, because rich people, live near the coast, and futuristic houses are often owned by rich people. So, just make it a little more realistic and put it by the coast. Along with that, coastal access can give you stuff like fish, dolphins, possible shipwrecks in the ocean. Either way, it's a good idea to put it near the coast. So, before I get any comments about this, just to clear things up, I have already made a tutorial on this, but the tutorial is way too long and I think I could have done a lot better on it. So, I'm going to build a new version. Of course, I'll still leave the other video up, but it's about 40 minutes long and it's just kind of boring. So, if you want to see it, you can, just to clear that up. So, the first thing we should do is create an entrance. So, obviously, just place down a door. But this is a futuristic house. We can do something better than that. So, start by creating a small area and then place down some birch planks. So, make sure it doesn't directly touch the grass. You can line it with some gray concrete, possibly even accent it with a couple sea lanterns, but we'll focus on the accents a little later. So, now we want to create a staircase upwards. So, about 3 blocks up. So, once you've reached your desired Y level, then you should extend it outwards a little more, and then you can go the rest of the way up. However, don't make the two pieces too close together, because if you have them too close together, you're going to run into issues involving making walls. So, once you've done that, start by moving up again. Then, once you've reached the start point again, then you can add the entrance there. Now that we have this whole staircase here, start by lining it. So, just some simple gray concrete stuff can do. Make sure to cover up the stairs from the sides, so you might have to do some compromises here and there in order to do that, because you'll probably get some pretty weird looking stuff. Also, make the foundation white concrete, or something similar to that, so that way it's more futuristic looking. Overall, just keep it separated from each other, so that way it still looks futuristic while having the birch on the inside. So, I've created a bit of a staircase here, and I decorated it. So, white concrete foundations look amazing, but since I like using that sunken in design for a lot of things, I had to make a couple of things here and there in order to make it work. Which means it's not absolutely perfect, but it's still very good. Along with that, railings are very good. So, last time I just placed down glass panes and called it a day. However, there's one extra thing you can do. You can add carpets on top of them. So that way they actually, have a top to them. So, if you do that, then you can make it look a lot better because now it has a real ending. So, it's not just, hi, I'm a glass pane, and that's it. Instead, it has a real top to it. So, I recommend doing that. Then, start by placing down your door. So, it's pretty simple. Just figure out an area for your door and place it down. Now that we have this door placed down, then we can start the basic scheme of the walls. So, now that we have this place here, we can surround this with white concrete. We have the cyan terracotta at the bottom, and that's going to be the general scheme we're going to be using for the walls. So, what we should do now is just make a frame for the build, because remember, this is a pretty large build, so you're going to have to establish what area is which, and don't get too afraid of making your areas too big, because the thing is with futuristic houses, there's probably going to be more resources in the future, and also, it's probably going to be for the upper class, so what you should do is make it very large. Either way, it still looks cool, so the bigger it is, probably the cooler it will be. Also, don't forget you have vertical space as well, so you can make it 2 or even 3 stories tall, if not more. So, I've started establishing a frame, and one thing you can do is have a band of light blue concrete going around, so that way it's just a bit more of an accent on the otherwise monochrome foundation. So, the best thing you can do is make sure everything lines up. I've seen what happens to my builds when I don't line everything up, and it's really bad. Don't take any chances when misaligning large builds. So, make sure everything's lined up, and then do the foundation of white concrete or block of your choice, because calcite isn't too bad of an option either, along with some other things, such as blackstone. Now, I have a foundation in, and I have to fix a couple things here and there on the foundation, but otherwise it's complete. So we should start by doing the walls. One thing I want to preserve though is this small area over here. So I'm just going to add some gray concrete, and this is going to be a garden. So don't put any walls here, instead just do the railings. So we'll finish up the railings if you're going to include a garden, but if you're not, then just add little spires upward on each of the corner points, and use cyan terracotta to start laying out the walls. Now, I've started by placing down the walls, but one thing you'll probably notice is, well, we probably want to figure out how tall we want these walls. So, 4 blocks is an acceptable height, so I recommend doing 4 blocks. Don't do 2 blocks because, well, 2 blocks is only good for Enderman and not for beauty. So 4 blocks is best, but 5 blocks is an acceptable option too. So just make a frame and figure out how tall you want it. Then you can figure out which areas are going to be second and third floors and which ones will just become balconies. So overall, it's a lot better to start by building the frame, so that way you can get a better idea of what you want the build to look like. So now you can develop the areas that you want to become balconies and which ones you just want to become tall. So I've built up most of the frame, and what you should do with the frame is just connect it across like this and add floors. It doesn't matter if you don't want it there specifically, but the important thing is that it's connected up. So just put walls everywhere. Ignore windows for now, because remember, it where the windows are kind of dictates what's inside the building, and it's better the other way around, so that way you can place down a table and then add the window where you want, rather than putting a table in a specific corner because the window's in the way. So just fill in all the walls. Along with these bland walls, we need to put some other things. We need to put just some ceilings and some floors. So start by filling in each area with some birch planks for a floor, and you should also do some roofing. So on the roof, so just have these little things on each corner so that way the roof is lit up, and you can connect them across like this. You can even accent it with the light blue is a concrete, and in the middle you can have some glass for a window. However, only do this if it's not a balcony. So if it is a balcony, don't do that. Since this isn't going to be a balcony, I'm going to add a window here. So start by just making your random floors and random ceilings, because once you have a complete shape, it's a lot easier to get things done. Don't forget to include places for staircases though, because that can definitely ruin a build when you just have to use ladders or have a very weird and awkward staircase somewhere in the build. So make sure you plan that out too. So I've added the floors, the ceilings, and, for good measure, a spiral staircase. So just a quick reminder on how to build a spiral staircase. You start with one slab, put another slab on top of it, then shift it one block, well, half a block upward, and just make a loop like this, and now I can get to every floor very easily. So now it's time to figure out where we want everything to be. So I'm going to dedicate this corner right here to an enchanting table, right about here. So you can add a window, say, right here. Remember to include a lot of windows, but not too many. So just make sure it still works when you have windows. So place down an enchanting table and set it up. Now I've set up an enchanting table, so that way you can actually enchant inside of this futuristic house. Now we should place down some quartz stairs, so preferably smooth quartz. And what we can do is make a couch, and then on this wall we can create a TV. So about 3 blocks big is good. So now you can add windows on either side. And now we can decorate the bottom of the TV. So good blocks are pistons, observers, just little things under the TV make the details really good. Now, I decorated the TV with some trapdoors, some looms acting as drawers, and a backwards observer. So that could be some sort of cable box or game console. Along with that, I added a small table with a flower pot. So you can just place down random pieces of cyan terracotta and just get a flower pot on it, and now you have an extra detail to the build. So just like that, it's a free detail. However, make sure to mix up the flowers often enough, because if you don't, then it just becomes bland and repetitive. So make sure you use different flowers each time. So now what we want to do is we want to work on the garden. So the garden isn't very big. It's just this small area back here. So we can't do too much. However, one big thing you can do is getting azaleas into here and bone mealing them to make a azalea tree. So place down the azalea, bone meal it, and now we have a nice fancy azalea tree. So that's a little detail you can do. So I also recommend tilling the area by the garden so that way you can plant some things. But just add little things to the garden. So 3 water blocks later and some flowers, now we have a neat little garden. Also, I added one extra window because, windows are amazing. So now we need to focus on the upper floors of this place, and also the entrance. So the entrance can't have too much done to it, but a couple of armor stands having some armor on it is a good choice to decorate it, along with some flower pots and just things you can think of. Possibly even a potted plant, like one with a cauldron and some leaves. So do something small for the entrance. So this entrance area now has a couple of details, and in case you do the potted plant approach, do it with a composter rather than a cauldron, because with a composter, you can fill it up most of the way with some compost, and now it looks like there's dirt in there, which makes it a whole lot better. Now we have to work on the upstairs part. So what you want to do here is some sort of dinner table. So dark oak is a good accent because it's a lot darker than the floor, but it's not quartz, which kind of looks like fabric. So what you'll want to do is just create some sort of table using a lot of stairs, and a lot of stairs works really well. So create a table using stairs. So I've added more windows, and I've created a dinner table with a ton of details, such as glow item frames with food, and more candles. Along with that, the balcony is done, just with simple chairs and a table with a flower pot on it. Don't forget to include a lot more candles, because you can't exactly include sea lanterns everywhere in this build. So you're going to need to light this place up somehow. So candles are an amazing way to do it. So I've separated off this room because this is going to be the bedroom of the house. So in here, it's pretty dark. So what you'll want to do is get a bed and just choose a random color. Then make it double and just in general decorate this room with whatever you can think of. So flowers, candles, bookshelves, barrels, whatever. Don't forget to include some storage and some furnaces because we want this place to still be livable. So I've decorated the walls with some utilities. Of course, I have this bed and a small bookshelf, which conveniently aligned with the wall post, so that way it's still framed. So this area is looking very good right now, and the only other detail I can think of that you could do is a painting. So don't forget you can place down paintings, and you can get the one that you like. So this one seems good. And now we have a nice bedroom. Of course, you can put down country flags or just whatever. But now it's time for the final layer, the upper floor. So I'm not too sure what to do with this yet, but remember, this is just a random room, so you can fill it up with whatever. Since there really isn't too much to do up here besides place miscellaneous utilities like anvils, what you can do is turn this into an art gallery, where you simply just place all the paintings you can accomplish. So, like this, just place down a ton of paintings. That's all you have to do. Very simple, yet effective, because it just fills up the room very quick because there's just a lot of paintings. There's nothing you can really do too wrong with a ton of paintings. So, I highly recommend doing this if you're completely out of ideas. So, just place down a ton of paintings. So, with some tables and chairs in here, and a lot of art on the walls, I'd say this room is done. And since we've filled up all the rooms in here, well, the interior is complete. However, I did mention at the beginning of the video we were going to be using warped stems for something, and that would just be a simple generator outside the house, because it just looks very futuristic, so I highly recommend doing one. So, you're going to have to grab some grass, well, destroy some grass, and you're going to need some glass. So, get your glass, and the reason why it looks so good is just having that neat animated texture. So, what you can do, surround it on 4 sides, surround it with some concrete from there, and now you have some sort of generator. Don't forget to do the grass on the inside though, because, well, you don't want to have this grassy generator powering a home, because, that's just kind of awkward. Now that we have that, grab a sea lantern, place it on top, maybe even include a couple of chains back here, and now we have some sort of power supply into this home. So now it's basically all done because now we have the generator, we have just everything else, and we even have a nice garden for good measure. So with that, it's the end of today's video. If you enjoyed this video, remember, please like and subscribe. It really helps me out. So with that, take care, make sure to light up your builds. Gearsaw out.